The NFL preseason is basically over at this point since no starters are really playing anymore. And what we've seen throughout the preseason, much like all preseasons, is that players fall in drafts and they just become less valuable in trades. Now, I will say that some of the guys on this list today are actually rising in value, but they still are buy lows. And that's exactly what we're going through today by going through 5 buy low trade targets to get, or even if you're still drafting right now, there'll be 5 guys to buy low on in your drafts before week 1. And of course, I'm still giving away free FN hats, and the way to qualify to get one is to go down there, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and give me your favorite sleeper wide receiver in fantasy football in 2024. So please go down there, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and give me your favorite sleeper wide receiver. So this first guy that I want to go through today is someone that is not dropping in drafts at all, but his price is still just so low to where this really is a buy low situation. I'm talking about Rasheed Rice of the Kansas City Chiefs. So his ADP on ESPN at the moment is 88.1. This is obviously just still way too low, and really the reason why he's this low, and he got this low, is because obviously the offseason with Rasheed Rice was horrendous. It was not a good offseason to have as an NFL football player, especially coming off a championship win versus the San Francisco 49ers. He obviously had multiple, incidents, and everybody just kind of assumed with all these stories coming out that Rasheed Rice was going to be suspended for the 2024 season, at least a portion of it. Well, really, his price started dropping around like March, April or so. And the important thing to remember with Rasheed Rice right now is that Rasheed Rice's situation, it doesn't look like there will be a suspension in 2024. I mean, he hasn't even met with the NFL yet. Roger Goodell has not even scheduled a meeting with Rasheed Rice as of right now. So by the passing date, it looks more and more unlikely that we won't see Rasheed Rice, at least in week 1, and probably will not be suspended at all for 2024. But what's important to know here is that while he still is a rising player on fantasy football draft boards, his price is still so low that it doesn't actually fit the value. I think a lot of people are actually missing what the true value of Rasheed Rice is. So when we look at Rasheed Rice versus Travis Kelce between the back half of last year and the front half of last year, obviously, Rasheed Rice was a rookie last year, so he wasn't quite as involved in those first 9 weeks of the season. Travis Kelce was still the trusted number 1. Dude is not playing forever. Well, then what happened after week 10? After week 9, basically, everything changed in Rasheed Rice's favor. He became the favorite target on a target basis and just an effectiveness basis between himself and Travis Kelce throughout the rest of the regular season, and obviously became a main player during the playoffs. So I think that when we look at Travis Kelce's price on ESPN drafts right now, it actually tells a lot of the story, which is that, yes, Rasheed Rice is a rising player, but what you'll notice is that his ADP is actually higher than Sam Laporta's. So people still believe that he will be the top tight end in fantasy football just based on his ADP. This leads me to believe that people, even though Rasheed Rice is rising in value, people still don't truly understand the actual value that Rasheed Rice will bring. Rasheed Rice is a legitimate 100+ catch guy and definitely is going to get somewhere in the range of 130 to 140 targets if he stays healthy all year. And give me that with a Patrick Mahomes. That's obviously elite level production, especially when you have a rookie in Xavier Worthy who is there to stretch the field and open up the middle of the field for somebody like Rasheed Rice. So even at this price, when I'm looking at his ADP right here, he's going behind Chris Godwin. That should never happen. Chris Godwin should not be going in front of him. Keenan Allen, he should not be going in front of him. Amari Cooper, George Pickens, those guys should not be going ahead of Rasheed Rice right now. So if you are drafting sometime this week, this is going to be a guy that you probably want to get possibly around early. And especially when you're looking at who to trade him with, that's when I'm looking at someone like a George Pickens or a Zamir White and sending them over there for Rasheed Rice. And looking over at his line on Underdog for week 1, his line at 0.5 rush plus reception touchdowns is actually boosted by 1.4x. So this is definitely one to take advantage of, especially being week 1 of the NFL season versus the Baltimore Ravens. And just to sweeten the pot, you're going to get a free pick with Travis Kelce getting 0.5 total yards in week 1. This is obviously a smash over right here. So this is your easy sweeten the pot type of pick right here. And this pick should be live right now for new customers, and it will become available to existing customers on August 29th. So if you haven't signed up for Underdog yet, you got to do it today. Take advantage of this by going down in the comments, using that link in the comments below. And when you use code FFN to deposit money, they will match you 50% up up to $1,000. So they will throw free money at you so you can go take advantage of this OP line right here and then go get in on some more pick'ems or maybe do an underdog draft before the season starts. So just go in there, use code FN to sign up. Now, our next guy that I want to go through today is also a guy that I think is actually rising in drafts a little bit, but his price has really always kind of been stable around this area, and it's just simply too low. David Montgomery of the Detroit Lions, very much like last year, it's just a value pick in drafts and an easy buy low trade target to get before the actual NFL season starts up. So when I look at David Montgomery here and what his ADP is, his ADP on ESPN is 71.4 right now. So that puts him in the range of DeAndre Swift at the running back position. Ramondre Stevenson's going a little bit ahead of him. Aaron Jones is going a little bit ahead of him. Now, in the scenario that David Montgomery's upside hits, he's a better pick than all of them. With Aaron Jones, he's obviously got a quarterback issue that's going to hurt the rushing upside, and obviously is a player that looks to be splitting touches potentially with Ty Chandler. So his upside is definitely capped, especially when you factor in that he is closer to 30 now and has been injured for a couple seasons. And then Ramondre Stevenson, also a guy who I think is just totally overvalued in my opinion. This is a guy who literally plays for one of the worst, if not the worst teams in the NFL. I'm sorry, Patriots fans, but the Patriots will be really bad this year. They have a bottom tier offensive line, and Ramondre Stevenson sure may monopolize the backfield, but it's kind of like if Najee Harris were to monopolize the Pittsburgh backfield. The upside isn't there, and there's history linking, and actual data linking bad NFL teams to bad running back production in fantasy football. With David Montgomery, this is a situation where over a year ago now, last offseason, they signed him to a 3-year, $18 million deal where they guaranteed over half of the value of the total contract. So obviously that's not a ton of money they're throwing at him. They didn't throw like Saquon Barkley money at him this offseason. But Dave Montgomery is still a valuable piece for them. So what he did last year was he ended up getting more than 10 rushing touchdowns with his team, and he had his most efficient rushing year for the Detroit Lions. Now, obviously, the big problem here that caps his fantasy upside is Jahmyr Gibbs, and the fact that Jahmyr Gibbs not only takes the reception totals away, but he also does take carries between the 20s away. So where Dave Montgomery flourishes, and he flourished last year, was at the red zone and getting those goal line touches here. Now, I'm very confident that this is going to be the case once again, not only because he did well at it last year, but they're still paying him a decent amount of money to actually play that type of role. Now, I will say that we are heavily relying on this being the case. Like, if he doesn't get the red zone opportunities, then his value is not this. It's not this high. And I think that's been baked into why he's kind of fallen a little bit in drafts, is because people are worried about that potential that he does lose that job. Well, Jahmyr Gibbs has obviously been hurt a little bit during the offseason. That's not really the problem here. The problem here is that they did very well with the running back system in place last year. They're not going to just change that. So Dave Montgomery getting 10 rushing touchdowns or more, that's an easy buy for me because Detroit breeds 10 touchdown running backs, and both of them can do it. So I have faith that Dave Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs do it, and that's why I think Dave Montgomery is a great buy low trade target. Now, this next guy right here is somebody that I think has been undervalued all offseason. Josh Jacobs of the Green Bay Packers now. Josh Jacobs' ADP on ESPN is 40.5. So he's basically going middle of the 4th round in a 12-team league or early 5th round in a 10-team league. So I remember during the offseason, earlier portion of the offseason, when he signed with the Packers, I expected his ADP to be somewhere around like early 2nd round, mid 2nd round, maybe late 2nd round. I was shocked to learn that I was way off on this evaluation, but I still believe that he is definitely worth that price. Not saying you should do it, but this is why he's a great buy low trade target right here. With Josh Jacobs, obviously he signs to the Green Bay Packers on a really good deal for him. They throw plenty of money at him. Now, they didn't throw a ton of guarantees at him, which does ultimately make me believe that there will be a timeshare somewhere in there. Or at least they will try to do that, because the history of the head coach, Matt LaFleur over there, is he does like a running back by committee situation. There's no secret. He did it for years with A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones. That's what he likes to do. But here's the problem with this potential right here of the 2 running back system. The guy that they wanted to make the committee running back was Marshawn Lloyd, the draft pick out of USC that they actually took with 3rd round capital. Well, the problem with him is that he's basically missed all of training camp with a hamstring injury. And there's no clear timetable for when he actually returns to NFL action. So we have a rookie that hasn't practiced at all, basically, and is injured. and is a mid-round pick. That's typically not a good start to your NFL season as a rookie. Historically, that has not been the case. So essentially what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to reach for an A.J. Dillon timeshare or whoever they throw out there as their timeshare running backs. And that is just simply not as effective as what they would get with Josh Jacobs as their workhorse. This is a guy who has proven that he is definitely capable of handling a workhorse type of workload. And I just look back to that season that he had in 2022 with the Raiders, and I say to myself, this is possible because he is in a situation he's never been in before. The quarterback is really, really good. It's on an ascending level with Jordan Love and the coach, Matt LaFleur, and his offensive coach has never been as good as with Matt LaFleur. The offensive line is also better. So all around, weapons are better. Weapons are deeper. All around, this is the best situation that Josh Jacobs is going to walk into in his NFL career, and he's still young enough to do it and handle this type of workload. So when I look at his draft price and when I compare him to other guys in his range, the guys in his range are not bad, but when I'm looking at guys like DK Metcalf and Stephon Diggs going ahead of Josh Jacobs, it just doesn't make sense for me. So personally, I would take Josh Jacobs above ADP. He's a buy low guy still if you take him a little bit above ADP, and it's definitely someone that I would try to trade a guy like Stephon Diggs or even Drake London personally. Now, the next guy that I want to go through here today is obviously having the most annoying offseason, I think, out of anybody in the NFL. It's Brandon Aiyuk of the currently San Francisco 49ers, and his ADP right now is 44 overall. So obviously we'll start this off by saying that Brandon Aiyuk's situation has been probably the most annoying thing all offseason. I mean, I'm not a 49ers fan. I'm just exhausted of it, trying to evaluate where we should put him in fantasy football drafts, where we should rank him in as far as the wide receivers go. I'm sick of it. I'm ready for him to either stay with the team and just commit to it, or just the 49ers send him somewhere else. Now, I have personally said publicly many times on this channel, I believe that Aiyuk will be a 49er this year. I believe he will be because of the fact that he nixed 2 trades to the Browns and to the Patriots, and they had money in line for him, a lot of money in line for him, and he said, no, I don't want to play for you. He wants to play for the Steelers, I guess. They're lowballing the San Francisco 49ers. So essentially what he's saying right here is, I don't want to go to a worse place. I really don't want to leave in general. I'm just a little bit upset about the money that you're throwing at me. Here's one thing that's for certain. Even if he does go to the Washington Commanders or the Pittsburgh Steelers, what we do know for certain is he's not going to sit out. This is a move that hasn't been done since Le'Veon Bell did it in the 2019 season, which was abysmally disastrous for his career in the NFL. It was the wrong move in every sense of the word. You do not sit in a prime year of your NFL career. That's a good way to screw up your career. And I think Aiyuk's smarter than that. So what we do know is he will play this year. I believe it will be for the 49ers. And when I look at his ADP right now, he used to be like a wide receiver. He used to be in like the wide receiver 12, 13, 14 range. Well, on Underdog, he's dropped down all the way to the wide receiver 19, and he's currently sitting behind guys like, again, DK Metcalf, Stephon Diggs, and again, I would take him over Drake London personally because I have issues with Drake London. That's a topic for another day. But Brandon Aiyuk currently has more upside than DK Metcalf. I'm sorry, but it's just the reality. DK Metcalf has gotten worse every year in fantasy since 2021. And with Stephon Diggs in the competition in Houston, I prefer Brandon Aiyuk personally. And I also prefer him over Drake London because we've seen it from Brandon Aiyuk personally. So this is exactly the type of scenario that makes Brandon Aiyuk a good buy low trade target, or even a good buy low draft target to get before the NFL season starts, because it doesn't look like this whole thing is being solved immediately. And when it does get solved, I don't know how much higher he will be ranked, but I do believe that if he stays with the 49ers and it's confirmed, that his ranking will rise. So this is definitely one to take advantage of today if you have interest in doing it. Now, the last guy that I want to go through today is going to be Mr. Rome Odunsi of the Chicago Bears. Rookie wide receiver there, and this is more of a sleeper type of pick based on his ADP on ESPN. He's currently the 116th player off the board on ESPN right now. What we need to take into account is obviously the fact that Caleb Williams just looks like a ridiculous player. Like, we've all been watching the preseason, and even if you haven't watched like all the games, you've seen the highlights of Caleb Williams. That dude is throwing Patrick Mahomes type of passes, rolling out of the pocket, slinging it to Rome Odunsi on the sidelines at the back of the end zone. Get those feet down, Rome Odunsi. But he looks like the real deal. So I don't think anybody's worried about Caleb Williams being effective for fantasy football wide receivers in the Chicago Bears room. What people are worried about with Rome Odunsi right now, and he has been rising. I will not say it's as high as Rasheed Rice, but he has been rising to a certain extent in fantasy football drafts. And it's a combination of things right here. People are scared, obviously, because they have Keenan Allen, who has been elite and was just elite last year. So it's hard to really write him off as a proven veteran for a young guy who hasn't proven anything at the NFL level. I'm a big Keenan Allen guy, personally. I've always liked Keenan Allen, but I do worry about him this year. Obviously, there was the weight issue. I don't think that's still a thing. I think he's lost the weight. It doesn't look like he's overweight anymore. But it does seem to look like Rome Odunsi could easily take this wide receiver 2 job. Keenan Allen, like I said, player I've always liked, but he's definitely at that age cap where he could hit that age cliff. And this is a study that I did earlier in the offseason, and you could go watch that video after this one if you want to. But I did go through the age cliff of wide receivers who have been as good as him, and it's usually around this time. Couple that with a new team, I don't know if it's going to work for Keenan Allen. But I do know this. I want a wide receiver in that room, and I love DJ Moore, but a great consolation prize if you don't get him is Rome Odunsi if you're drafting him. And personally for me, in my leagues, I'm actively trying to trade for Rome Odunsi. Rome Odunsi is going below Brock Bowers, a rookie tight end, and historically, rookie tight ends not good in fantasy football. Also going below DeAndre Hopkins. That makes no sense at all. That makes zero sense whatsoever. Xavier Worthy, I probably would take Worthy over him, but I'm just showing you the list of guys right here that he's being drafted below currently, and I'm saying to you that he is absolutely worth a buy low in your fantasy football league right now, just going for that upside that he could potentially bring as a wide receiver 2, maybe not right away, but at some point during the NFL season, I believe he will overtake Keenan Allen. And then I wanted to go through a couple more guys here just to give you some bonus guys if you are in a deeper league. I've got 3 more guys that I think are good trade targets at this moment in time. Ty Chandler, I think, is a good trade target to get in a deeper league. Ty Chandler is a guy who has been pretty overlooked, and I actually thought his price was going to rise a couple weeks ago. It rose a little bit, but again, not by much. He's currently slated to handle a really healthy workload with the Minnesota Vikings, and it's been thought of as the 1B to the 1A Aaron Jones. So he's going to get touches in this efficient Minnesota offense. Now, number 2 is Jalen Wright. Jalen Wright, rookie running back for the Miami Dolphins, is really an insurance policy if one of those two between Achane and Mostert goes down, but he's probably the best insurance policy guy that you can get at the NFL level. In fantasy football, the Miami Dolphins backfield has probably the most upside, if not the second, only behind Detroit in fantasy football, and Jalen Wright is the guy that you want in a deeper league. And the last guy that I want to tell you about is Jalen McMillan. He is actually my preferred draft target in Tampa Bay right now. Like Mike Evans, don't love Chris Godwin, love Jalen McMillan at price right now. Currently slated to be the clear wide receiver 3, and he will be in on a lot of starter snaps during the actual NFL season. Looks really good, is getting really big rave reviews out of Tampa Bay, so Jalen McMillan is definitely a deep sleeper guy to get if you're in a deeper league. So let me know what you think of the trade targets in the comments below, and if you want to see the top 60 overall rankings for 2024, click on this video right here.